We are back. We are back. We did that. Week 2, ladies. Week 2.
What's up? What's up?
Oh, it gets me every time. Every single time. Welcome back for week 2, ladies and gentlemen. This is That's What She Said. Welcome back. We are so happy to be here. I can't even tell you guys the response we got from week 1. You guys should have seen us. We were in the chat and we were literally sending screenshots of feedback that people were giving us to week 1 of That's What She Said. And I'm so glad we came together intentionally. We knew what we came to do. And I'm so glad that it's just being received how we want it to be received. So that being said, let's get started. Let's jump into week 2. We're going to just do some quick intros. We're going to run right down the line. My name is Kaylani Blackwell, co-founder and CEO of Women in Real Estate. I also am really excited to be here this week because my nerves are gone. Last week I was really freaking nervous and I didn't tell you guys, but we made it. We're here. Happy to be here. Patty, go for it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to do the show with this beautiful squad. My name is Patty Goodspeed. I've been a mortgage banker for 21 years. I am an investor and I'm a nerd. You know, I like reading and I like talking with my girls. So here we are. Let's do it.
And we love you being the nerd. We love it. We love it. We love it. Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Lady Jade. I'm a media personality, a real estate investor, also a realtor as well, and a huge philanthropist with my own nonprofit organization. So I'm happy to be back with you ladies as well.
Yes, and I'm Nasima McElroy. I am so happy to be joined by these ladies again. Had a phenomenal time last week. So I am a labor and delivery nurse of 14 years, a mom of 3 crazy girls, and a personal finance enthusiast that is really all about normalizing Black wealth. So happy to join you guys. Super excited to jump into these topics today because they promised. I promise they're going to be juicy. So, yeah.
So good. So good. Go ahead, Jade.
Oh no, that was me being excited, girl. I'm just like, I'm happy to be back. I'm with y'all. Like, you know, what did we say? We're talking business, we're talking money, we're talking, you know, real life. So if anybody's wondering what to expect on the show, that's what we talk about.
That's what we talk about. It feels good. I feel excited too. So before we get into today's topics, because we have some really, really good ones and a lot of hot news going on right now. So before we get into that though, some of my Wire members asked me after last week's show, they said, this was amazing. What made you guys do this? Where did this vision even come from? And so we each have our own kind of motivation and reasons for wanting to be a part of something like this. This came from my crazy brain. So I'll start with a quick response of that. These ladies just support my crazy. And if your tribe doesn't do that for you, you need a better tribe. Let's just start with that. But there are some other live shows that are circulating the internet that aren't so, how do I put it? You know, the thing about podcast culture, right? And I never thought I would be one on a podcast or a live show or anything like that. But I don't think everyone is deserving of a podcast mic. I think there needs to be some sort of like screening process. Like before you hand somebody a mic and let them broadcast whatever to the world, I think there needs to be a screening process. And so this was my response to just being sick of the male dominated, really cringy podcast scene and saying, wow, I know three powerful women, making four of us with very strong opinions, very strong values. And those are the voices that need to be heard. So I just hit up my friends and I was like, yo, can we do this? And they were like, we're rocking with it. And that's how we got here. So I would love to hear from you ladies. When I came to you and said, hey, let's do this, why did you guys agree besides Patty, me forcing you because she doesn't have a choice?
Yeah. The number one reason is because you're annoying. Yeah. And
know that.
and persistent, and when you have an idea and you get excited about it, I know we need to be there. But of course, there's always a benefit to having more space on the internet and carving out some space on the internet and having more exposure. And of course, after the first show, why we're still doing it, I think, is because we realize we do have a very nice chemistry and we do have something great to tell. And I think what stands out with us when you're comparing to, podcasters or other people out there is that we're sharing along the journey that we're actually taking, right? So we're not regurgitating information. We're giving you real-time information about the things that we're going through or what we've overcome, things that, are day-to-day things. We're going to talk about big topics, but we're going to give you guys practical advice on how we've gotten through certain areas of life or what we've experienced and what we're actually doing. So these aren't general broad ideas to get you excited about going down a new path that none of us have explored. And of course, with four women coming together to do that, you get much more depth from that perspective. So I'm excited to be a part of that. And I'm going to do things that my friends asked me to do. And I think that further emphasizes what we talked about the tribe, about how important it is that when you're doing something to have a genuine group of people around you that are excited to push you forward. And then of course the blessings are without limit.
Yeah.
I think Patty said it perfectly. Like, I don't even know how to follow that up, but
Right.
Especially
I love that. I mean, I would also add just to what Patty said. I love the fact that, first of all, like you said, you really don't have to convince people, Kalani, in a sense. I think it is important when somebody has like a really great idea, that whether it's something you wanted to do or not, you give them the opportunity by supporting them, right? And I also loved, I'm probably the newest one to the friend group, of meeting everybody. But I remember when we all had our first meeting, I was like, I like these women. Like, they're real. Nobody is on here being phony. Like, we're all giving each other space to have our A-type personalities, right? There was a lot of respect in the conversation. And I guess sometimes in life, even when you don't know why, you got to ask yourself, why not? Like, what is it? You know what I mean? Like, instead of talking ourselves out of it, like, what could this turn into? Could this be something big? And I love the fact that, these are, enormously successful women that are like running circles even around me, just being honest, right? And so being on here with women that I aspire to be like, I want to start surrounding myself more so around women that, are really doing the dang thing. And you guys are really doing the dang thing. Every time I have a conversation with you, I learn something. I feel like I become better. And so I'm like, yeah, I definitely want to be a part of that. Y'all are business women. You do make money, everything that we say, you are living real lives. And I think that if I can be inspired by that, other people can as well. And I love the fact that even though at some point we'll talk about these things like the sex and relationships, because that is real life, but it wasn't anything that was overly sexualized. All of you women exude the fact that you can be beautiful, you can be smart, you can have your stuff together and be falling apart at the same time. And that's why I'm here. Like, I'm so glad to know you ladies. Seriously.
Yeah.
You know what I love about our group is that, I saw this reel that was posted of Pharrell earlier today, and I posted it on my story. And he said the problem with creatives without business are often victims, and business without creativity is often pointless, and he cussed, right? Often lacks a lot of life, right? And I really, really appreciated that, because I approach my business almost as an art form, right? And each one of you ladies have really mastered your crafts in your own lane. And I love that you said that we're all A-type personalities, because what you'll notice, and I see this a lot among women, that sometimes among women, there's a competitive culture that really doesn't need to exist. But when you are around other strong women who are confident in who they are, that doesn't exist. My relationships with women that are the healthiest are with women that are strong and A-type like me as well. And I have seen a lot of people, I've met a lot of people in person. When they finally meet me in person, like someone would be like, "Oh my gosh, I thought you were going to be stuck up." And I'm like, really? Like, that's so interesting to me. So that's why it's important to me. I think it's one of the callings of my life to create safe spaces for women for that purpose, because we don't need to be competitive. I think this is a prime example of what can happen when, a healthy meeting of the minds comes together. So I just want to publicly thank you all for encouraging my crazy and embarking on this wonderful journey with me. I love you all. This is going to be really, really fun. So
I love you too. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
let's get into it. Okay, topic number 1 for today. I'm going to kick us off. And this was special to me because as you guys know, most of you know, Patty and I have been friends for a few years, and she is Muslim and she observes Ramadan. And she is someone who is, so tapped into her culture that I've learned so much about her culture just from being in her proximity. So when anything happens in the world, I'm thinking about, how does this affect my friend, right? There's differences, but we're so similar in so many ways. So I wanted to give you all a platform today to talk about what Ramadan is, for people who do not know, and how the rest of us can support our friends who are observing Ramadan this month.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. And Nasima, I had forgotten that you were raised Muslim, and I'm so glad to know that we're fasting together. It's nice.
Yes.
I love Ramadan. I love Ramadan. It just has there's an energy about Ramadan that really brings you to a place of self-awareness. And I was traveling through the airport. And when I was traveling through the airport, not only on the way there, but on the way back, for some reason, someone helped me skip the entire security line, go right to the front, and took care of me. And then they even added like an extra time on my boarding pass so that I can get on after the A group so that I don't have to check my bag. I don't even know how that happened. And I almost cried because I thought, wow, this is the blessing. These are the little miracles that happen during Ramadan that are so hard to explain. I'm feeling emotional just talking about it. And it's a time of year where, technically speaking, if you want something to visualize, where the Muslims will teach you that the devil is locked up during the month of Ramadan. So you can't be tempted and you can't be thrown off course. This is a time where you could truly be dedicated to God. You are without excuse. And often the first thing that someone will say when you're telling them that you're fasting is, "Oh, well, not even water," right? Like, that's the most common thing you hear. "Oh my God, not even water?" Yeah, no, we're not even drinking water. And guess what? You're not even thirsty. You're just going through it. You're not thirsty. You're not hungry. And it's so funny because throughout this, and before Ramadan comes, I will try 700 diets. I'll be like, I got to stop eating carbs. I really got to stop eating sugar. I really got to stop doing this. And I can't do any of it, but then Ramadan comes and I'm like, man, look, I can't drink no water. I got to do, So there is this, it's a beautiful energy when you embrace it. And basically from sun up to sundown, from when the sun rises to the sun sets, we don't consume anything, water, drink. And if you're married, you're not sleeping with your spouse either. So you're giving that up. If you're a smoker, you're not smoking, right? So you're giving up everything during the time that the sun is out. And when the sun sets, you get to, break your fast and enjoy that time with family. And some of the lessons that come from it are just this immeasurable sense of gratitude and awareness about how much we consume that we don't need. And the theme, it's hard because I am feeling a little emotional because I didn't have a chance to talk about what I experienced as I was traveling for a few days and I maintained my fast and how things just kind of happened. So it's a very beautiful time and it's a part of the Muslim faith. There are 5 pillars in Islam that are important, and of which one of them is fasting. So this is a very holy time for Muslims, and it's a very important time to observe fasting, and it's much deeper than just not eating. Your prayer life gets deepened, what you observe gets deepened, and of course, your ability to release certain attachments in the world becomes much, much stronger. And the hope and prayers that we can maintain that throughout the year. So Nasima, please add to it.
Well, I think it's interesting, as I don't really practice Islam anymore, but I still understand the value of Ramadan and fasting. And it's definitely one of those things that totally like grounds you and recenters you. If you're ever at a place in your life where you need to be refocused, I think a Ramadan gives you that opportunity to get there. And so I love participating in Ramadan. I love the fasting. I love the practice. I love the energy around it. And it's interesting because I haven't done it in a long time because there's the rules. Like you were traveling, you don't necessarily have to fast. If you're a woman and you're menstruating, you don't necessarily have to fast. Well, over the last however many years, I've either been pregnant or breastfeeding. And I'm still actually breastfeeding right now, but I chose to participate because I really just wanted to get back to that center. Like I really felt off kilter. And I know that this season will help me get there. And that's what I'm using it for. And even in these first 3 days, I can already see things starting to realign for me. Things are getting easier. I'm getting a lot more clarity in my life. And so, yeah, I'm really cherishing this season and just honored to be able to participate in it. I've been fasting since I was 12. So it's not anything new. It's just something I've been out of practice of doing. And I also think it's really cute that my 10-year-old daughter is fasting. Well, she made up her own rules around it, but I still think it was really cute because I didn't even tell her our expected from her. So it's beautiful.
Can I ask a question? Because I thought it was first of all, I think it's so beautiful because I love how it's like the connectivity between the sacrifice and how it's almost like you're very in tune with your faith because of the sacrifice, right? And it's beautiful to hear you speak about it. Offline, Nasima, you were mentioning that when you were younger, and Patty, maybe you had the same experience that when you all were practicing Ramadan or just because of your faith in general, you were kind of possibly the one that was iced out or you got. And to me, I think it's important to bring that up because I think that a lot of times we isolate people that do not have the same beliefs in religion and faith as us when if you really study, we have a lot more in common than not, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And for me, when I talk about like the isolation, so my dad converted to Islam. So we're African American Muslims but not Nation of Islam, not Black Muslim, so not FOI. And so there's a very small percentage of us. And so the isolation can go both ways, right? We can get it from the Islamic community that are mostly Middle Eastern that, might say, oh, well, how did you become a Muslim? Do you even know what your name means? Like I would get that. And then like predominantly from African Americans, I'd be like, oh, you're Muslim, you're not Christian, you don't do this, you don't do that. And so it's like I never kind of felt like I belonged kind of anywhere. And so it was always this battle of trying to like connect with people on a certain level, but then also still having a community, a smaller community to be able to connect with. But it's still like, as far as like most of my friends, I was the only one, so that was hard to navigate, but it also prepared me for life because going into college, I was the only one that looked like me. And in certain arenas, even now, I'm the only one that looks like me. And so it prepared me to be able to navigate situations where I'm the only. And so, it was just a learning experience. It also allowed me to, like you said, Lady J, like explore different religions and understand how interconnected they are and how there's so much in common and that there's truth in everything, and just being able to understand the beauty that lies in Islam and the beauty that lies in other religions.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have to address the fact that there's an issue there's migration, right? I'm a product of the diaspora, right? My parents are not from here. My parents migrated from Iran. And when you come here, it's not just your religious differences. It's the fact that we eat on the floor. We take our shoes off before we go into the house. We observe a fasting month, or there's so many different things that isolate you culturally in high school that you don't, my parents not being able to speak English, having the thick accent, not getting involved in any extracurricular activities because they don't know better. There's a million different ways that as a Muslim you feel isolated and different. But to save some time and not go too deep into that, I think what I'd like to address more is the unity. See, in the Quran and in the Quran, you do not have any instance where the Bible is put down or Jesus is put down, right? Jesus is completely glorified throughout
Mhm.
the entire teachings of Islam. And on top of that, there's one thing that we all have in common across every single sect, across every single religion, and is that we believe that there is no God but God. There's one God, right? There's one God. We serve one God. And that is the basis of Islam, right? So there are so many things and thoughts and conversational points that could unify us, and especially from the Muslim religion, because there's so much you can take from the Quran about science, about math, about unity, about the unity that comes from all of the teachings of the various prophets, and how that can be, we could do 10 shows on that, right? So we are more alike than we are different. But if you believe that there is one God and there's no God but that God, then you can call yourself a Muslim. You're almost halfway there.
I love that. I love that. Well, we always appreciate, like, what do they say? We perish for lack of knowledge. We're thing that I love about the differences and the similarities is that you don't have to force anybody to believe what you believe, but we're all centered in love. And this is why I keep saying why this works, right? I kind of want to switch gears just a little bit. I don't know if you guys have been seeing it all over line, but today was a huge day for social media.
Yeah.
The House voted overwhelmingly to approve a bill that would ban TikTok in the U.S. or they're trying to, if they don't ban it, force a sale. Because what they're trying to say is that U.S. lawmakers and intelligence officials worried that the Chinese government could use TikTok to access personal data from all of the hundreds of millions of users, and that it could even affect the presidential election. So, all these 100 over hundreds of millions of TikTok followers are losing their mind. A lot of people make money and make a living from TikTok. So, one, will this affect anybody on here? Two, I don't know if whoever has kids, if they've heard about it, are they going nuts about it? And what are your thoughts overall? Like, should we be banning? Because first is TikTok. What's next, right?
Right.
It's interesting to me that TikTok is the platform that they're targeting, because I think that all of these social media platforms kind of do the same things as far as like our personal information, and the fact that they're China based versus US based, to me is like, I get it, but I think that they should be exploring how our personal information is being used and accessed across the board. And this can be a launching pad for that. But as far as like TikTok, I know a lot of people that make a lot of money off of TikTok and how that would affect their revenue, their income streams. But, I feel like this is a long time coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like this.
Go,
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go.
I feel like this speaks to a lot of what we said last week with, the use of social media. We just were talking about this. You can have a profile on any platform and you do not own it. And so when that profile or app goes away, then what do you do? I think what I'm going to miss most, I mean, we can talk about, national security threats, things of that nature. I don't feel qualified to even speak to that. But what I can say is I vote that we go back to MySpace, because that was the only app that had any, culture that I appreciated. My question is if TikTok goes away, and, people's businesses, right? People who've become, TikTok has been such a springboard for so many new creators, for so many new influencers, just because of how people consume the content. And I think it's done a beautiful thing. I think the culture of TikTok is what will be hard to replicate on any other platform. I don't care what you say. Instagram Shorts, their algorithm is getting better. The culture is not the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no other platform that I think exists that can kind of recreate what TikTok has been able to do. And so for me, I wonder, where are we going to go next? And for all of you creators out there, if you are not creating calls to action or figuring out a different way to connect with people, that audience very well could be gone for good. Now, there's still some things that have to happen, right? The bill needs to go to Senate. It's got to get to the Senate, needs to get passed in the Senate. And Mr. Biden has to sign off on it in order for that ban to take place. And even still, I think that there's, like a 5-month cushion for something to happen. So you have time, but this is the whole entire point of this conversation, is that if you're not figuring out how to capitalize, you take your audience off that platform and capitalize it elsewhere, you're going to be in really big trouble.
Yeah, I don't think this is new news. I don't think any creator on TikTok was not already prepared for this possible outcome, right? So they've been transporting their following over to Instagram and YouTube.
Patty, folks are in denial though, girl. They have been in denial. They have been like, there's no way this is going to possibly happen. And overwhelmingly.
Did you stop?
Oh yeah, I'm just waiting. Yeah. I want you to finish, but I'm just saying. I just wanted to jump in for a second. I think that you heard it coming, but in your mind, it's like there's no way this could possibly happen.
Yeah, I know that is true. I could see that in the commentary that they're made, that, the comments. However, I think we do need to talk about the fact that government stepping in to control an open platform where people are providing real-time information, I think is extremely dangerous. I am not for government control in our lives. I'm not for anything that stands in the way of the freedom of speech. And I think people need to be really, really cautious about how they're supporting this, because the people who are really in support of banning TikTok have an ulterior motive. And I think that's hard to get into, because I don't know how much we can talk about even on a platform like YouTube, because information is censored everywhere, right? If I have a conversation in my closet about something, I'm walking downstairs and getting into my car and I have an ad on my phone about something I just talked about in my closet, right? So we are being monitored and observed in every way possible. So yes, so I think TikTok, my first thought was, I need to go figure out who I'm following on TikTok that I need to be following on Instagram, because I don't want to miss their content, because I like those people. I like following those cooks and I like what they're doing. And I don't want them to lose their income opportunities. Like every time I see a video from Jackie Aina, I double tap it 6 times. And
that's how I do your videos, Patty.
I'm not sure.
Right.
So TikTok is addicting. TikTok is time consuming. TikTok is a problem. I don't want my girls on TikTok, but TikTok, it should not be banned. TikTok, you should not be able to force the sale of a company claiming that the Chinese government is taking information. Baby, the Chinese government has been infiltrating the United States for decades. Cash I've seen come in from the Chinese government through students that were planted in the United States and bought up so much, hundreds and millions of dollars in real estate. Baby, if you wanted to stop the Chinese government, you could have done that a long time ago. So that is not what this is about. That is not what this is about. Right. This is about controlling the narrative. And I'll remind you guys, I talk to my girlfriends about this, because I'll never forget the hurtful response that I had from a lot of my close friends when Ferguson happened. I remember everyone saying, well, what did he do? What did he do, right? And usually the response would be, when you notice when someone does something wrong and the police will kill them or beat them up, the thought that a racist mind would have is, what did he do to deserve that, right? Well, and we would be thinking, what could he have possibly done to have deserved that, right? But someone would say, what did he do to deserve that? It wasn't until the self-reporting, the free self-reporting that took place on Twitter, that then got censored, that opened up the eyes of so many people and created a brand new narrative and so many different outcomes in the legal system, just in crimes that are happening against Black people and the police, right? So you have to think about what has been the hottest topic that take place on TikTok. What awareness is being raised through the real conversations that are happening through TikTok, and why would a government have an interest in suppressing that information? So I think those are the questions we need to be asking ourselves about this TikTok ban. I don't think it should
I think that's amazing. Like, can we look snaps for Patty? Always, she always drops the mic. It's hard to follow her. I want to go back to something Kalani said as well. When you're talking about the business aspect of it, what's more surprising to me is the fact that you're right. Facebook, I think, was the first to, they had some sort of where our information got released or whatever, right? I think it was Facebook. But why are we focusing on the presidential election as opposed to the mental well-being of an entire country, right? How much does social media affect the way that we think about ourselves, the way that our children respond? I just saw a study and I did it this morning. There was a neurosurgeon that posted on social media saying, when you wake up in the morning and the first thing that you do is look at social media, you have literally your dopamine has skyrocketed, and now it has created an addiction and an urge that you want to see it for the rest of the day. So even though you jump on social media, you should do this thing of, affirming yourself in the morning, listening to other things, and then easing your way into something. But it's so crazy to me that we're only concerned about politics and the presidential election and not the well-being, like the mental well-being of a society that all of us have to cohabitate in together. That is what's killing me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's like, okay, hey, the government's excuses, it's Homeland Security. We need to protect us from them. It's like, dude, we need to be protected from you. At this point, the same conversation could be had about, gun control, right? Or any big or hot topic item that is highly controversial, right? I mean, I agree. We could talk about this for a long time.
Yes.
That's a good point. Think about the mental health, the aspect of things. And also just remember that when you're asking for help from the government, when you're asking for help from the government in any capacity, you're giving up one level of freedom. So we don't want the censorship and we don't want the limitation on the freedom of speech. You guys have to remember that when you're consuming the data and the information in regards to social media.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. That is good.
Yeah.
Okay. Make that a quote. Tweetable.
All of
Turn
hers.
that.
Okay.
Exactly. This is her lane. Now, I think I do have one more take on this TikTok situation, which is the fact that Lady Jade, I saw you make a TikTok about this and I know you don't make a lot of TikToks. I don't either. But you made a TikTok about the TikTok shop, and I can't get up and go get it, but I meant to bring it here.
Let me go get some stuff. Hold on.
I got stuff too. I am weak. Listen, the e-commerce portion of TikTok is out of this world. Have you all bought something from the TikTok shop yet?
I definitely have, and it bothers me. It annoys me because I feel like the whole whole TikTok feed has turned into the TikTok shop. Stop, Jay.
Let me let y'all know, this is freaking ridiculous. I have bought. I don't even cook, Patty. I gotta give you this. It was only 99 cents. It's some sort of onion chopper or something. This is crazy, y'all. I have bought a rotator for my phone. I have a lint remover. Who is going to be shaving lint off of my clothes? But this is the one. Did y'all see this one? This.
You got the massager?
It's the worst crap ever. Don't buy this, girl. This is a lot. They tricked me. I paid $19.99. The people were on there going, oh, this is the best feeling. It feels like when you go get your nails done, you know how that thing digs in your shoulders and it hurts if you're not sitting right? Don't do it, y'all. They got me. I have the slime, the snail slime stuff. I got all of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You got a shopping problem,
you're the one keeping the TikTok shop alive. Huh?
Yeah. Look, I need to talk to Nasima about how to get my finances together because clearly. But I got like 100 items and it was only like $60 in all honesty.
Well, you know what? That's not bad.
That TikTok shop is what turned me off from TikTok because I really enjoyed
that. 100%. Me too. That's when I stopped watching TikTok because every other thing that was coming up for me was the TikTok shop, and I was like, "What is this? Is this now a retail place?" Like, I don't.
Yeah, and I tried to ignore it. I did. Go ahead, Patty.
I was saying, think about that as a business person who is on social media. Like I think Latoya mentioned in the comments, and hi, I can see the comments. I just can't type back. So I see you, Amir. Thank you. So I think Latoya mentioned that she does business and it's going to impact her revenue as a result of this ban, right? And I think you do have to kind of think about it. I think we all went from, I said this on Twitter a long time ago. I don't like that in every space we exist, we have to figure out how to monetize it. And I think that you just think about as a consumer, you're scrolling and we all have something very valuable to give. And here we are creating a show that we want people to engage with, right? But the point is at every juncture that we exist as humans, why are we looking to monetize it, right? And that turns people off. And I think that within itself is a great lesson to any entrepreneur that's listening, especially as a woman, because as we transition to our next topic, which I'd like to do, it's going to be about why women own 3 million more why single women own 3 million more homes than men. And we're going to talk about the different layers of that. But when I was thinking about that topic, I thought about women are consumers, right? And when I was in sales, ever since I was a young person and I would go into a home and speak to two people, I was taught to cater that conversation to the wife, because usually the wife is the decision maker. My mom would say the husband is the head of the house, but the woman is the neck, right? And so women are targeted in advertisements much more than men, because we have a tendency to act emotionally, right? And I think that just so thinking as women in a group where we have a lot of women that follow us and may be inspired by our journeys, just think about what, as a human being, if you're trying to understand how to connect with consumers or how to connect with people, the very fundamental thing that we have in common with others is our humanity. And as you're experiencing that scroll and you think about how someone is selling you, so maybe you shouldn't mimic the guy who's selling a bunch of ads on Instagram, and maybe you should just talk to people from a more human place, because nobody wants to constantly be sold. That is one thing that is getting so tiring on every social media platform. Everywhere we exist, we tend to want to monetize it, and that gets really, really old.
But then as an entrepreneur, how do you make money?
Right.
If you're not monetizing, how are you making money? So it's just like that.
It's a double-edged sword. I feel that. You know what I think is interesting about this is, and I would be interested to hear more data as to why single women own the most homes. But what I can say is that Black women are the biggest spenders, right? They have the most disposable income, the most educated, have the most disposable income. They are the fastest growing demographic of entrepreneurs. They're investing in themselves, in their education, in their businesses, and in their lives. And so when I hear a stat like single women own 3 million more homes in the United States than men, I mean, am I surprised? Absolutely not.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the show we created, The Truth Behind the Headlines, the webinar that I do, because it's a headline and it's catchy and it's exciting. But you know, the truth is that a lot of those women got those houses through maybe a divorce or becoming widowed, right? So those statistics aren't necessarily, because women make less than men. There is a wage gap between men and women, right? And not only do women make less than men, but let's say some of these women have children. Their outgoing expenses are higher than men, right? And they're still taking on more home ownership at a higher rate. Well, why is that? Well, there's a couple reasons. I want to hear your opinions, but I'm going to tell you guys, this does come from women being widowed. This does come from divorce situations. And a lot of it also comes from maybe getting to a certain point in your life where you're thinking, hey, you know, I don't think I can wait for the man and the white picket fence and the marriage and the dual income household. I'm going to have to start building this on my own, and maybe in a smaller market or so on and so forth. But even with less income, even with less means, women own 3 million more homes in the United States than men. So Jade, tell us, as a real estate agent, you're in the market. Do more women knock on those doors or men? What are you seeing?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I mean, honestly, probably 80% of my clients are women. But I was going to ask you guys, what is it about women over men? Why do you think that home is it? I understand the being a widow. I understand the divorce. But do you think that home ownership is more important to a woman than it is a man? Right? I mean, do you think, this is going to sound so terrible? Of course, I'm not talking about all men. But do you think, let's say, for instance, guys love cars. Do you think it's more important for a man to own a nice car and still live in an apartment because it looks really great and that's what most people see, as opposed
I think it's a sense of security that comes along with home ownership that a lot of women want? Just to answer that question, but
yeah,
I mean, from a numbers perspective, I think
we're nesters. We want to nest. We feel safe when we have a home. We want to feel safe. So yeah, I think that's absolutely has a big part to do with it.
Yeah.
When aren't people, I guess, getting married later and at a slower pace than ever before? You know, because I think this is a great point to touch on when you think of kind of independence or hyper independence from women. You know, women have to be so independent that in order to disrupt my life, I just want to broadcast this comment real quick, Michelle. Hey, Michelle, that's my Wire LA, one of my Wire LA chapter leaders. She said, I bought my first house at 28 as a single mom.
Nice.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah.
My mother, I bought my first home at 31 as a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that says a lot, right? It says a lot. And if people aren't getting married as quickly, you know, women are having to take care of themselves and rely on themselves for stability. And if we are not, if we cannot rely on men in a lot of ways right now, like for right now, to disrupt my peace in any sense of the word, you have to come with something. You cannot just come over here and disrupt my peace, right? And so if more women are adopting this mindset and are getting access to capital at faster rates than ever before. And there are wonderful mortgage bankers like Patty Goodspeed making sure that women are getting a fair shot at home ownership. And there are women like Nasima that are helping, that are coaching people with finances and wealth. And we have these resources available to us.
Yeah.
You know, the need to rely on a man for home ownership is just simply not there, which is a crazy thought to think of, considering just, I mean, in this generation, right? Years ago, women couldn't even open a bank account.
Without a
Right?
man.
Without a man.
Yeah.
So
Does it make women intimidating to men nowadays? I mean, because there is a level of like we want to be independent, we want to have our own, but I think the caveat is even independent women, you know, we also want the balance of the soft life. We want to feel safe. We want to be able to feel vulnerable, and we don't want our success, especially of home ownership, to intimidate a man that may not have been a priority to him. Correct? Wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you agree?
I don't necessarily agree that we want to be independent. It's just that we don't have to put up with a lot of the stuff that our grandmas or even our moms had to put up with. And as far as tolerating men that weren't stepping up to the plate, that were abusive, that had outside relationships, like these are things that women have had to tolerate historically. And it's not that we want to be all independent and like do it all on our own. We just not willing to deal with the BS. And in the meantime, we're not stopping our hustle. We're still going out there and we're gonna get it. And I think that the whole independent woman thing, that label, can be misconstrued because that's not what it really is about. It's I have to do this because I'm not dealing with that BS. I have to do this because I am protecting my peace. My home is my serenity. And like Kalani said, you're not gonna come in here and mess things up without bringing. You have to bring something to the plate. You have to be an addition. You know what I'm saying? You have to be an asset, not a liability. And I feel like we, like as a people, are doing internal healing where we're not looking at relationships as something that completes us. We're looking at relationships as things that are just a bonus, right? Like we're tacking that on because we complete ourselves. And so you know, I think that's where that comes from. It's just that we're not going to wait. We're not stopping our hustle. We're going to keep on going. And if we find that person that matches our energy and can cut and slide in and not disrupt our flow, we'll be good.
Yes, where is the person that's matching energy? Hello,
Hello.
Is he out there? Is he out there?
Patty, this quote has, I think I heard you say this maybe for the first time on Clubhouse when we first became friends and met. I'm looking to make millions during the day and then make my man's plate at night. You know, I think that this is an interesting, you know, when we talk about, none of us can sit up here and say anything about intimidating men. We're not men. I don't know how I'm perceived. And quite frankly, what people think about me is none of my business. But what I can say is that I think it's really, the gender roles are really, really interesting, right? Now, to your point, Naseem, I think what you're saying is that people get into relationship out of desire and want versus necessity and need. So, Patty, what do you have to say about this?
Well, first of all, that made me laugh. So Amir sharing that is, anyone who really knows me knows that is the essence of who I am. I'm when my girls' friends fight with their husbands, I'm always on the husband's side because there is this, and it does come from my upbringing and my mother, where I really do have this belief of honoring the man, regardless of my financial situation. So the thing is that I really wanted to separate the idea, and Bobby, I see your comment too. I really wanted to separate the idea that women owning more homes than men has anything to do with their desire for a relationship or whether or not they think they need a man. The truth is every woman needs a man and every man needs a woman. That is the fundamental truth. Like we have talked about that previously on our show. And we want to make sure that you know that you can be an enterprising woman, a very successful woman. I don't own just one house. I own several, right? I own a thriving business, right? And I still, like the quote says, want to make my man's plate at night.
Yes.
So I want that headline to not be perceived in such a way that it's that women have just decided that they're not going to need a man. No, I think women have decided that as they're renting, that it might make a little bit more sense. One of the stories that I read was a young woman, a Black woman in Detroit, and she was looking at an apartment. The landlord who owned the building, who knew her profile, said, "Honey, you would be better off buying. You need to buy." And she bought the house for $99,000. Now she has over $150,000 worth of equity. She's the only girl in her friend circle that owns real estate. And it was because the owner of the building, the landlord, encouraged her to do it, right? So I think you're absolutely right, Nasima. We have different choices. The women that fought before us so that we can have rights, and we're still working on breaking barriers and closing wage gaps, but we have a lot of opportunity. And when a woman is presented with the option and she has the means to purchase, well, why not? And if that same woman is widowed and the ownership gets transferred to her, well, why not? And if that same woman has raised children for 15 to 20 years in a household and they're going through a divorce and she gets the house, why not? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So this idea that women have more property than men should be isolated from the topic of whether or not men need women and women need men. I don't think that should be the topic. I think it should be exactly what you said, Nasima. Women have access to more opportunities, and women are very good decision makers. They can make choices to choose ownership over renting because they want to make sound financial decisions and hopefully merge that someday with a great life partner.
I want to acknowledge Alicia real fast in the chat. She said, it's funny, I had a conversation with a friend who's on the dating scene and told me women don't want to be thought of as having to be cared for. They are fine being independent and moving right along. So hopefully, Alicia, you can call your friend back and be like, that's not what they said on That's What She Said. That's not what she said. Nope, that is not
that is not what she said.
Absolutely not. All right, I'm loving this conversation, but y'all, I know I'm looking at the time and we only have a few minutes left. Are y'all having a good time so far?
We are having
right?
Yes, this is good.
Stuff. Okay, I do want to switch gears. We've talked about business. We've talked about money. I want to wrap the show up by talking about a hot topic. Something a little juicier that's outside of what we normally talk about, right? The internet has been going crazy about this particular topic, and the ladies have no idea what I'm about to ask them. I cannot wait to hear your opinion.
Oh, God.
39-year-old Drea Michelle from Basketball Wives, y'all, is 7 months pregnant by 22-year-old NBA star Jalen Green that plays for the Houston Rockets.
I'm not mad at it.
Okay. That is a 17-year difference, but there's more to the story. Dre has 3 other children. She has a set of twins that are 7 years old by a former Dallas Cowboy player. And her oldest son is 22 years old, which is the exact same age as the father of her soon-to-be child's father. So the baby she's about to have, about Jalen Green, he's 22. The baby daddy is 22, and Dre's son is 22 already. So ever since she made this announcement and confirmed her pregnancy, the internet has been going crazy. I have been dying all week to get on That's What She Said to see what are my girls about to say about Drea, Michelle, and Jalen Green.
You know what though? I think men do this all the time, and I have a perfect example of this. Actually, somebody I was dating about the same age gap just had a baby with someone who was a year older than his daughter. And yes. And so I don't know. I see men do it, and I don't think that it would have been like breaking news if it was a man that was doing it. And you know what I'm saying? And the whole thing about people like checking for kids' ages and stuff like that, they don't do that to men, because men be having babies at all ages, all scattered across the world. And people don't be checking for them kids. Okay, while y'all checking for her babies, but I think it is hilarious though.
Yeah. Okay, so you think double standard? Okay,
double standards, definitely.
I think that all women are different, right? Me in particular, I cannot get intellectually stimulated by a young man. So, if I need to be intellectually stimulated, just
we weren't talking about intellectual stimulation, but go on.
Yeah, right.
I haven't been clear enough. I'm I'm a Virgo, and we need intellectual stimulation. Okay, so that's that. So that is not for me. But in the wise words of the Honorable Sean Carter, you can't knock the hustle. Get it, girl. Do what you got to do.
Oh, what you saying? Okay, go ahead and secure the bag. She secured the bag, huh, Patty?
Jay, we know what you're doing. We know what you're about. I'm not hating on you. When I see your body, it makes me want to do a couple push-ups. Go for it. Do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. I am not hating.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to have an opinion on what another woman should or shouldn't do with her life. That's her business. What I did see on social media before we got on here, and I had a feeling this is what you were going to bring up today, Lady Jade. I thought I had this feeling, but I saw a post where I guess Jalen had taken a picture with like a fan or somebody, and he was in a gym and he had a shirt off, and you could see her name tattooed on his body, on his like stomach, his lower abdomen or whatever. I'm like, okay, dang, they're really in the thick of this. This was not an accident, right? And I would say with someone like Drea, who's been in the game for a long time, she's been in this game. She's been around it. She's been around these cameras. She's been on reality TV. She's been around athletes. She's been around these men. She doesn't strike me as the type to have a baby by anybody, right? I think that she probably was intentional. And if that is the case, and that's what you wanted, then that's what I want for you. I agree that there is a double standard, but I also think that it's going to be interesting to watch. I think what I want for women is happiness. And if this relationship makes you happy, then I'm happy for you. To Patty's point, I don't know how happy a 22-year-old would make me. But what I will say,
child support check is making her happy. Prada.
I'm talking hello.
I mean, Drea, that could be her motive. Like I said, she's been around for a minute. She's a businesswoman too. She has businesses and companies and things of that nature. So I don't know. But what I can say is I'm about to turn 34 tomorrow. And I don't. Thank you. I don't have any kids yet. And so for me, I'm like, okay, this 38-year-old is out here living her life and having babies at 38. And it just is kind of creating a different perspective around age for me. And I think that's more my insight on that. But yeah.
Well, I have to share a comment. So there was a picture of Amber Rose. That's Amber Rose's. She was with Kanye. Do I have her name right? Amber Rose.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amber Rose was pictured with another young man, similar type of situation recently, and someone commented and said, with these Hall of Famers still in the game, these young ladies don't have a chance, and I'm having to say it has to be a Hall of Famer. So Hall of Famers in the game are making it hard for the youngsters, for the rookies to get in there and get a jersey, and I can't knock the hustle. So do what you got to do.
Because Amber Rose's ex-boyfriend is dating Cher, and he's in his 20s or 30s, and she's like 70 something, right?
Yeah.
So
yes. Have you seen Cher?
Cher.
I saw her live. She performed live in Vegas. This was a few years ago now. But I said, there is no way that woman's age starts with a 7. She's giving 40 something in every sense of she looks amazing. Cher. Her body is amazing. She sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Cher is
definitely living her best life for sure. Now, I kind of agree with you ladies. I have a 22-year-old godson. And when I see that, all I can think to myself is like, if my 22-year-old godson came home with somebody that was almost 40, considering the fact, this is how I look at it. I agree with everything you guys have said. I want people to be happy. What I choose is not what somebody else would choose. There are a lot of double standards. I also take into consideration that Jalen just graduated from high school like 3 years ago. So that's also like mind-boggling to me. Like, what are we talking about?
When you say it like that.
I mean, I'm just like, he is a grown man. Yeah. It's not so much the age gap for me, right? Because I know people that have been married for 40, 50 years and they had a 17-year difference. I think that now in today's society, when you're in your 20s is a completely different mindset than when you get in your 30s and you start establishing your career and you start wanting to be a little bit more settled. And of course, to your point, again, to each his own, a lot of people feel like, look, he was 22 years old and he was he was easy prey. In other words, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, what young boy does not have a fantasy for like, oh, I can get me an older woman. You know what I mean? I'm new. I'm fresh in the league. Andrea is an absolutely one of the baddest in the games, physically, like stunning woman. What upset me even more about this topic is to see all of these male celebrities now come out and act like females and now want to tell their experiences with Drea. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's
Haters.
giving like high school for sure. Like, we don't kiss and tell.
Right.
We're all super grown. And now you want to reminisce on an experience you had with her 10, 12 years ago. At the end of the day, regardless of what people think, that's still somebody's mom. I don't agree with that aspect of it or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. This has been an interesting topic that has not going away. And I don't think it's going to go away because she's going to have the baby in 2 months. So we're going to have to talk about it again. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, I can't believe she kept it under wraps this long.
Yeah, you
Be
don't
honest.
tell anybody, Jade. I feel like the media just needs something to talk about. Like for me,
for sure.
it's very uninteresting. You know, from my perspective, it's extremely uninteresting. I didn't even know people were talking about her outside of that, other than a couple of the feeds, or I saw, little, funny posts here and there. But it's uninteresting to me, and I feel like the media just has to have this sort of gossip to think about, and hopefully through elevated shows like this and elevated conversations, we can laugh about it, we can talk about it, we can address. There is something to learn about that, right? If you have a young son who might be an athlete, or even if he's not a pro player, these women might think he might be, and they're plotting, right? So this is something to be aware of, and it does help to create some awareness and create real conversations at home with our young children. But for me, overall, the topic is just uninteresting, and I want to be attracted to different things, when I'm scrolling through the media.
Yeah. So in other words, we're shutting this hot topic down.
All right.
That was good, Jade. That was good. You're good.
This has been episode 2 of That's What She Said. If you like what you've heard today, do us a favor, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow all of us on socials as well. Let's exchange some social currency. And if you want us to talk about something in particular, head over to the socials, or either put it in the comments, head over to Instagram. That's what she said _show. And DM us whatever question you would like us, or topic you would like us to discuss next week. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been fun, and we will see you same place, same time next week. Bye, everybody.
Happy
Love
birthday.
you, ladies. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Everyone in the comments.